we got to talk about Liz Cheney. This woman is leaning hard into perceived victimhood. This woman who wanted us to believe she was like the biggest champion for pro-life policies, who now is endorsing a woman who wants abortion on demand in all 50 states. That's Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney is very, very upset and hurt, you see. She's very, very upset. She's very upset at Charlie Kirk, and she's very upset at Donald Trump for his alleged death threat against her, which is a lie. Here's what happened. Trump went on with Tucker in one of his last campaign events last night. I think it was in Arizona, which is the state that she's not from. She's from Wyoming, out west. She's from the Southwest. So Trump's sitting with Tucker. And you know, Tucker, you may be aware, is not a neocon. He's the opposite of a neocon. And Trump's not a neocon either. And Trump says the following about Liz Cheney. Now, first, I'm going to show you the clip that his critics are sharing. Okay, here it is.
I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And I used to I'd have meetings with a lot of people, and she always wanted to go to war with people.
Okay, so that was actually the full Trump statement. And what she's doing is pulling the part where he says, let's see her standing there looking 9 guns in the face. See how she handles it. They're clipping that, and they're saying that he threatened to kill her, that he wants her to die. Look at the Drudge headline. They put it up on MSNBC today on Morning Joe. Totally misleading. This is just one example, but all the media is doing this, running around saying that, for the listeners, Trump calls for Cheney's execution. The lower third on Morning Joe is Trump on Liz Cheney. Quote, let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her. Now, you might make the argument this is slightly out of context. First of all, he absolutely did not, quote, call for her execution. And the pull quote that you've put into your lower third, MSNBC, suggests that he wants that to happen, as opposed to the real truth, which was Trump was making a very predictable, usually left-wing argument against war and the warmongers who push them, which is very easy for you to send our sons and daughters into combat. Very different story if you had to face it. How would the decisions be made in this country if you had to do what these men and women have to do? You who might be in charge of the draft. You who's going to be in charge of sending the men and women who are already enlisted in the U.S. military to go fight in what may be a pointless war like Iraq, which was very much supported by the Cheneys. You might remember her dad was vice president at the time. That's the point he's making. Who hasn't made this point in arguing against war? It's you don't have the same skin in the game, and you wouldn't have the same courage as these people you would like to order into battle. That's it. The desperation around this narrative that, in fact, he was trying to get her killed is absolutely patent and dishonest and obnoxious. They don't believe Trump called for Liz Cheney to be executed at all. They just want you to. Here's a montage of some of the coverage.
He's going after Liz Cheney with this dangerous, violent rhetoric.
And on his closing weekend, he's calling for 9 guns to be pointed at her face to execute her.
No,
Donald
he isn't.
Trump is escalating his violent rhetoric, suggesting one of his most prominent critics, the former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, should be fired upon.
The nation is now
She's
on
an
notice
idiot.
if Americans return Donald Trump to the White House after those comments about our fellow American Liz Cheney. Those who voted for him will get what they deserve.
It's a direct threat, not 9 barrels pointed at her, 9 barrels shooting at her.
Literally, some of his supporters take these signals literally. See January 6th. So
you have Donald Trump, who's talking about sending a prominent Republican to the firing squad, and you have Vice President Harris talking about sending one to her cabinet.
Oh my God, the dishonesty. This this is beyond. There was Judge Ludig in there for good measure, the guy who's been trying to get Trump booted off of ballots as an insurrectionist, say he's already disqualified himself, totally overruled and rejected by the courts. He's lost his fastball, Judge Ludig. Let's just zero in on one, that ridiculous fool, Casey Hunt, who's now at CNN from MSNBC. Isn't this the one who threw down over, "You will not insult my colleague Jake Tapper on this air"? I get them mixed up because a lot of these anchors seem the same to me. I'm pretty sure she was the one who was like, "You will not insult Jake Tapper before the debate." Let's play the longer Casey Hunt solo and her absolutely false. It is so false to the point where CNN must issue a retraction. It must. Watch.
4 days out from Election Day, and former President Donald Trump is escalating his violent rhetoric, suggesting one of his most prominent critics, the former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, should be fired upon. Let's see how she feels when the guns are trained on her face. Let's sit with that for a moment. And it comes after Trump has raised the specter of using the U.S. military on Americans he calls the enemy within. This is the final battle, he says. He's talking about the election happening 4 days from now. In her closing argument of this campaign, his opponent, Kamala Harris, had this warning.
Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him.
That's where we are 4 days from Election Day in 2024.
Do you want to be a news organization or not? Because if not, you need to be honest about what was said and the context in which it was offered. That's just the way it works. Sorry. I know you really, really, really want Trump to be defeated, but the rules don't change just because of your innate desires. Either you're straight or you're not. It's absolutely stomach turning. And this is the same anchor, by the way, who had the following reaction when Senator Rand Paul was brutally attacked in his front yard, breaking 6 ribs and suffering internal organs damage. This is the same anchor.
New details today on the incident that left Senator Rand Paul with 6 broken ribs. This might be one of my favorite stories, although, of course, we don't want to. Clearly, Senator Paul is still struggling. Paul's neighbor, Renee Boucher, is accused of beating the senator, and GQ reports that lawn care issues may well have been at the heart of the dispute.
One of her favorite stories, how he got beaten, was seriously injured, and was hospitalized. It's so fun. This year, supply chain issues have been more prevalent than ever. Whether it's the result of natural disasters like Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, global conflict, or inflation, the impacts are being felt everywhere. While they sometimes are a minor inconvenience, delays in accessing essential medications can become catastrophic. The U.S. relies on overseas sources for more than 80% of its generic medications. So what happens when there are delays? Or what if supplies are cut off? How will you care for your loved ones and yourself? The Jase case offers peace of mind for you and your family in the face of delays, shortages, and disasters. This is an emergency medication kit containing 5 life-saving antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. Simply complete a quick online evaluation to ensure you're prepared. The Jase case can also be customized with add-ons like ivermectin, EpiPens, and more. Don't wait. Consider preparing right now. Receive a discount on your Jase case by visiting jase.com and entering promo code MK at checkout. That's promo code MK at jase.com, ensuring you have the right medications exactly when you need them. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.